TequilaAficionado.com, podcast number 3. This is Alex Perez, editor and founder of TequilaAficionado.com. On this podcast, you'll find the second segment on my show with Mike Morales from the New Mexico Tequila Experience. We hope you enjoy it. Okay, we have just opened the bottle of Dos Lunas Silver. And Mike, you were kind enough to bring this to us.
Yeah, these are courtesy of Dos Lunas LLC and D.W. Turner, the public relations company for Dos Lunas. And as I mentioned before, the bottle looks very much like an obelisk, like a very similar to the vodka bottles you see now, that they got the window, the see-through window, and a picture behind it. So they're very, very nice to look at. Very, very beautiful presentation. Very elegant presentation.
Now it's the silver is clear colored.
The brightness is not the same as a Siembra Azul. I don't feel.
No, I think the Siembra Azul has a little bit of a brighter color to it.
It's got very good legs, though. Excellent legs. Nice string of pearls.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my legs.
Did you shave this morning, by the way?
No, I never shave.
Oh, God.
European style.
Oh, good for you.
No, yeah, it does have some very nice legs. And
yes.
The nose is nice.
The nose, I find, and this is again my personal opinion, I find a very yeasty smell to it on the very top.
I can smell that.
And it's to me, very reminiscent of what is happening with the Don Julio line. You're beginning to smell a lot of the yeast. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you'll smell yeast at the very top. In the middle, you'll smell the agave. At first blush, you'll smell a lot of alcohol.
Yes.
Of course, this bottle has been through not through customs, but it's been through a flight this morning, where, by the way, I had to actually claim it was food for me to have them let me bring it on the plane. So it was food in Phoenix, and it was food in Ontario, or in Albuquerque.
Well, it's tequila here. Now, this is Dos Lunas Tequila Silver, 100% blue agave. They claim it is double distilled.
It's got a sharp attack. It's definitely not as smooth as a Siembra Azul is. It stays with you. It's got a good alcohol burn.
It does. And the attack is actually in the mouth, not in the throat.
Yes.
So it actually goes down nice and easy.
It's a very, very solid tequila. They have a very good foundation, I think, in the selection. It's definitely one that you can... It's definitely, like I say, a solid tequila that you wouldn't have any qualms serving. Mixing it in a margarita, definitely. This would be an excellent mixer for some of the new drinks out there, or even with a can of Sprite, or a sangrita on the side.
Sure.
Excellent with sangrita on the side.
Well, I wouldn't mind sipping this either.
No, not at all.
Very good.
I would say, if you're familiar with Don Julio, if you like those types of tequilas and where they're headed and that direction, you will enjoy this tequila very much. And it's a beautiful bottle to look at too. And it's very much a conversation piece. So you can get a lot of mileage out of this tequila, definitely.
Well, you pretty much described the bottle pretty well, and I like the picture window. If you like, I know there's a lot of tequila bottle collectors out there. Who's
yes.
This famous person in the Ian Chadwick's...
Lou Barton.
Lou Barton.
There are several. Lou Barton, Mark Cannon, Tim Carter. If you look, or if you've had a chance to look at pocotequila.com, P-O-C-O tequila.com, the majority of the bottles, and also Harry Riefschneider, those are the three primary collectors where most of those bottles that you see on that website come from. I didn't know that until I met these gentlemen. And if you think I'm crazy about tequila, you should meet these guys. They are some serious collectors. These guys have... Lou Barton, as a matter of fact, was interviewed recently by the Univision station in San Antonio, and he was kind enough to send me the news piece. This man has thousands of bottles in his home. They line the floors. They're in his closet, and these are historical bottles. These are bottles that are 150 years old, porcelain painted in gold, and most of them are full. That's the other thing. I think Lou Barton is a great photographer, by the way, and is a published photographer, as a matter of fact. And I think through our tour, he was the most sober of all of us because he was so busy getting his shots. He was just.
So he's a man of self-control.
Yes, very much. He's just, and Tim Carter was the same way. Tim Carter was just, he served up pictures of his home in Denver, and it's amazing. He's got his bottles lining windows so that the sun shines through them, and they're beautiful. And I wonder, what makes these guys tick? I think that's great. It would be a great article. I think I'll probably wind up having a good time interviewing each of these gentlemen. But if you ever go to pocotequila.com, or if you've been on that website, those are the 3 or 4 gentlemen that whose collections have been photographed by Mark Cannon, who's a beautiful graphics photographer. As a matter of fact, Mark Cannon is responsible for the label and design of Los Abuelos tequila. Los Abuelos is a brand new tequila. It is available in Southern California. I believe, I'm not sure which of the stores in the state are carrying it, but Southern California primarily. But if you get your hands on a bottle of Los Abuelos, Mark Cannon is a graphic artist. He actually designed the label for Los Abuelos, and that is a tequila manufactured by a 5th-generation Sausa, which we were really... it was such a neat thing to go visit that distillery because it was the summer home of the Sausa family, one of the last portions of property that was kept by the Sausa family. And the distillery is an ancient distillery, literally a museum that is now back up in production using a taona, which is the millstone.
Very interesting, yeah.
And if you get your hands on a bottle of Los Abuelos, get yourself the silver tequila. It is by far one of the best silver tequilas you will taste, especially in the manner how it's manufactured with the taona. That I think that and El Tesoro, you'll have a really good.
It just adds that characteristic.
Oh yes, the characteristics are totally different. They're night and day. Night and day.
Well, I've actually been to his website. He's actually got a very good eye, very good hand with his designs. Very impressive.
He is a very humble man. And a great guy, and another tequila aficionado, just another tequila fan, and a great guy, just a great guy. All these people that we went on this tour with, I think I can call them my friends, more so now than before, because literally I was very fortunate when we went on this tour because I knew a few of the people that were going, but literally it was a 36-person blind date.
Now, we're talking about the tequila tour that was held in March,
yes.
Right? Remember, March 2006.
Yep.
It was led by Ian Chadwick of Canada, who's also a big tequila aficionado, who's got a great website with marvelous information. Probably one of the first to have such a complete tequila environment, if you will, on the internet with fascinating information for everybody.
His website is the Bible of tequila information. And by the way, if you like to visit his website, it's ianchadwick.com/tequila, and he is updating that website. So he'll have brand new information, more graphics, new pictures. It's kind of a slow process when you're a webmaster, but definitely will be updated. And it is the Bible of tequila. If it's anything you've ever wanted to know about tequila, you can find out on his website. And it was a magical tour. It really, really was.
So you called it a blind date, which I think described it perfectly. It was you and 30 some other tequila maniacs, if you will.
With one thing in common. We all came from all over the United States with one thing in common. We loved tequila.
And that was a tour that was put on pretty quickly. I mean, it wasn't something that you had to mill over, and it was something like, hey, you know what? Let's get together, and everybody pretty much got together and did it.
It was interesting because a lot of the people that were involved had connections. I of course knew people from our previous shows. Ian knew people. Harry Riefschneider, who is another big collector, who was actually our point man for this show or for this tour. knew a lot of people. And so the tours we were given, that we experienced, were more than the average tour that a tourist would get at the last minute. It was very much in-depth. We were 36 considered. We were treated like experts. Really were. We were civilians, but we were, and none of us were in the business. None of us were distributors, except for a couple who were importers. But most of us were civilians, as I would call us, and we were treated like experts. And I can't say enough about the folks that we spoke with, from Jose Cuervo in La Rojeña, their distillery, to El Tesoro, Casa Noble, Herradura. Even a side trip to Arete was a wonderful experience. Just, I cannot say enough about how we were treated, and that gives us an even more appreciation for tequila. If we all thought we were experts before, we found out how little we really knew, and now we came back with an even better appreciation and more information that we need to impart. We really do. Tequila right now is a very hot market. It's a very hot spirit, and it's growing quickly by leaps and bounds, which is why you see new companies popping up every day, like Dos Lunas, or Siembra Azul, for that matter. And really, if you have a chance to experience this and to educate yourselves, go to Mexico, go to Jalisco, visit distilleries, and try to visit ones that not just the ones that have the daily tours, but the ones off to the side of the road, the ones that don't have those daily tours, the ones that never receive visitors, because those are the folks that we went to, and by far they appreciate folks that are hungry for information. We were. I know I was. I was back at school when I went. I mean, I've always considered myself a fan anyway. But I was really minor leagues when I met some of the people who went on this tour with us. So definitely do yourself a favor if you're a tequila nut, tequila fan, even the slightest curiosity. When you go to Mexico, visit a distillery. See more than one. See what the difference is between artisanal tequila and mass-produced tequila, because it really is a difference. And you'll come away with a better appreciation, more education. And when you go to your local liquor store or when you want to buy a gift for a friend, you'll feel more confident selecting the product that you know will not disappoint.
I completely agree. And I really look at this kind of like the wine industry. And I always like to go back to the wine industry because I think they've done such a good job in not only marketing their product, but also getting the public to go in and taste their product. Because that's how people get to learn, get educated. Just like you were doing with your tequila tastings and tequila tasting events over in New Mexico. You have to have the public taste the product, or else they're never going to buy it. And that way, they also get to learn what they like. It's just like, how do you know you're going to like a Blanco until you try it? You might try it at first, and it might not be your cup of tea, but then you go to the Añejo. And then you graduate down to you're a purist, then you become a Blanco fan. Very, very similar to wine. And I always talk about this being the case, where a lot of wine drinkers, including myself, before I could even legally drink, started with a white Zin.
Yeah. And preferably, because I'm from California, it's a California white Zin.
Yeah, you have a white Zin, and then all of a sudden you like wine, and you start diving into other things, and now I'm a big red drinker, and that's the way it happens.
My father is a big wine hound, and constantly educates me on new wines that he's coming, that he runs into. So there's a lot to be said about learning from the wine industry, where it comes with tequila. As a matter of fact, since we're talking about wine, in tequila there's no such thing as a vintage. It per se. However, being around these collectors that I've been with, I've discovered that, and they're tequila companies that promote this. For example, Jose Cuervo Reserva de la Familia comes out with a new vintage every year, and literally what they'll do is of course it's in a new box from a new artist box. But we've done a lot of conversing about one vintage, 1 year versus the other, and there's really no word for it but vintage. What do you think of the 2005 versus the 2006? Well, or the 2004? And what's it? And what are these bottles going for on eBay? Because a lot of these guys buy their bottles on eBay too. But yeah, there's a lot of comparison. And as a matter of fact, Penca Azul, which is another one of my favorite tequilas, particularly their reposado, they believe in the vintage idea of tequila. Some batches, and they're very small batch. They're particularly their añejo, which we had the good fortune. My buddy Carlos Phillips from Penca Azul was nice enough to come down to visit us at the hotel where we were staying, and he brought the añejo, which I had not had a chance to taste because it's just they make it in such small batches. It's not available in New Mexico, and I was blown away by that añejo, because it's so different from the other añejos like Reserva de la Familia. And they believe in the vintage idea. Some years you have a great production of agave, some years not so good. But their process is the same. And so to them it makes sense. And I think more and more producers, tequileros, are moving in that direction. So you're not so far off base when you say that vintage isn't as good as last year's vintage, even though it doesn't actually say it on the bottle.
Well, it would be interesting to try a vertical, different years of Reserva de la Familia, or I don't know if they even have. I assume that the higher-ups over at Cuervo probably get a chance to do that. Take out some of their library tequilas, if you will. And
Gran Centenario is another one that you probably could do that with. I know that when we had our cata that was conducted by Ingeniero Jainal, who is one of the founding fathers of the Tequila Academy, the Mexican Tequila Academy. When we had that cata, that was done with Centenario, and we had Centenario Plata, Reposado, one of my favorites, and Añejo, which I'd never had before. And yeah, it'd be very interesting to do that, particularly with Reserva de la Familia, because that's the one where the buzz is about, a yearly vintage. All I know is that when we drank out of the barrel, I want a bottle of that vintage, because they were nice enough to give us a barrel that we all signed, and we were the first civilians to ever sign a barrel. As I mentioned before, none of us are in the business of alcohol distribution. There were a couple of us who are importers, but none of us are distributors, major distributors, or foreign distributors. And we were the first, literally, civilians to be able to sign our own barrel. And I want a bottle of that when it comes out. I want that one, yeah.
Well, very good. I actually saw some photographs of that. That must have been really exciting.
It was amazing. They don't. The other thing too is that this is an actual cava. It is climate controlled cave downstairs below, where even when they tour you through La Rojeña, nobody goes in there.
So this is below.
It's below. It's underground, and it was just an amazing thing. That beyond where the barrels are, there was a fenced off, gated off. It literally did look like Pirates of the Caribbean. If you've ever been to Pirates of the Caribbean, this is what it looked like, okay? Same thing. And beyond it were hand-blown glass containers. And within these containers were the ones, they're 100 years old, and they were originally used to transport mezcal wine. That's what they used, were these, these barrels, these glass barrels. And they were all there. Lord knows what they would bring, if you were to put those on eBay. You could make a fortune just selling the hand-blown glass bottles, So it was amazing. It was an amazing tour.
A lot of history in there.
Yes.
A lot of history.
211 years of history.
Wow.
The only other folks that have been around as long, and you may have seen the bulletin, was Casanoble. Casanoble was considered by a committee of catadores and tequila purists as the best tequila of the decade.